Hi everybody. So what I'm going to take you through, again, my website is Kubu. So what I did is I kind of made up a little lesson plan as to what I think I might use Kubu for. So I'll take you through the lesson plan that I want to do, and after that we can take the quizzes and the activities that I made in Kubu. So the lesson today is about presidents. So what does it mean to be a president? The requirements of being a president are at least 35 years of age, native-born United States citizen, resident of the United States for 14 years. So there's really not a huge list of requirements for the presidency. So after we talk about the requirements, we would have a discussion on why do we think that founding fathers set forth those requirements? Do you agree with it? Do you think that the citizenship part of it is good or not? What other requirements do you think should have been included? I mean, keep in mind that these outlines were created hundreds of years ago when education wasn't as valuable as it is now. So do we need to add something in there? Do we need to make it longer? I mean, the requirements for my job at Ecolab are more strict than the requirements to be President of the United States. So after that, we would move into a little activity. And what the activity is that I have a list of people, and all of these people are interested in becoming presidents. And we need to determine whether they meet these basic requirements. So I have four options here. Option 1 is 30 years old from New Jersey and has been senator for 4 years already. Option 2 is 49 years old. He's a military general, and he was stationed in Iraq for the past 4 years, and he was born on a U.S. military base in Germany after World War II. Option 3 is 37 years old, governor of California, famous actor, and he moved from his birth country of Austria. And option 4 is 35 years old. She's a businesswoman from North Carolina. So what we would do after this is we would talk through who would be qualified and who would not, just based on these requirements, the requirements of being president. Moving on to the next part is a little political cartoon. It says, Constitution of the United States, we the people, and has all that, and the president shall make his own rules. There it is, just the way it came off the Founding Fathers typewriter. And so what we would talk about is, what do we see? We would talk about all the little things in the picture. What's the message behind it? What is the cartoon implying about the powers of the president? Does the president make his own rules? Or does the structure of our government really kind of limit the power of the president? So kind of just an interesting thing there. I thought it was a good one to include. So after that, we would move on to a little passage in the book. So the book, I don't have a book in front of me, obviously, but I know the books do have stuff about the presidents and stuff about these 3 tiers of government. So I would have them read a little bit in their book to understand of what the powers of the president are. And I would have them organize their thoughts on a little graphic organizer. After they're done with that, we're going to come back into a group setting, and we're going to play 2 truths and a lie. It's going to be about the president. So read the following statements and guess which one is not a role of the power of the power of the president. Excuse me. So first, the president gets paid to throw big parties. The president can declare war if America's national security is threatened. And 3, the president has the power to appoint ambassadors. So what I'd do here is I would get my class to participate either electronically and have it anonymous, or just have them raise their hand. But just so you guys know, the first one is true, actually. They hold ceremonies and dinners for foreign visitors. Second one is the false one. Only Congress can declare war. There are special circumstances that give the president about 60 days of leniency. And then the third one is true. It's part of his duties as chief diplomat. The second one, the president has the right to withhold certain information from Congress if he thinks it would endanger America. Number 2, no president has ever made it to the highest office without being elected to either the presidency or vice presidency. And number 3, the president is allowed to campaign for other candidates of the same party running for office. So number 1, true. Number 2 is false. Gerald Ford was not elected to either post. And 3 is true. It's part of his role as party chief. And then the last one, the power of the vice presidency has been increasing since the early 1990s. The president is one of the highest paid members of American society, and no president has been elected to more than 2 terms. So number 1 is, number 1 is true. Number 2 is false. And number 3 is false. I might have made a mistake there. I only have 1 true one. My apologies for that one. I will go back and edit it. After that, we would go on to making up their own. So now they know a little bit about the presidency and what kind of powers they have. They would move on to making their own about it. Next is learning about checks and balances. So we're going to learn about the 3 branches of our federal government. The executive, legislative, and judicial. The executive is the president, and then 5 million workers. And then the legislative is the Senate and the House of Representatives. The judicial is the Supreme Court and all lower courts. And then we would talk about how the 3 of these branches, they're meant to make sure that none of them have too much power. So it's kind of a good way that it was set up, just to even out the power. So finally, I'm going to have my kids sign into a Kubu account. And it just says under here, go under divide, which is one of the activities, to do powers of the president. And then second, under composer, take the presidential powers quiz. So that's going to be my understanding quiz. Make sure that my kids know what's going on. So we'll go over here quick. We'll go under the activities. We'll just go under divide. Powers of the president. So we're going to play this real quick. And as I said in my last video, if you drag it into the wrong one, it does count one wrong. And since I asked my students to log in, it'll actually send me the score of that. So they're just going to do this. They can't fly, that I know of. They're going to do this, and after they do this, I'm going to have them go back. And that's kind of their test, their practice. And then we go over to composer, and that's their quiz. So we're going to go to presidential powers, and I'm under the teacher version, so the student version, I assume, looks a little bit different. So we'll go over to presidential power. So this is about, probably the 5th time I've taken it, and of the 5 times I've taken it, 3 of them have not worked. So the Kubu composer I am a little bit lenient about. So I don't put too much effort into it. I mean, I put like 5, 6, 7 questions on these, so it's not too hard. But I'm going to go through this real quick, and then I'll show you. Hopefully I get 100%. Oops. Let's see. They do not have. We'll just go through this all the way. All right, yes, 7 out of 7. I learned so much. So after they do that, that's it. That's my exit ticket for them. So that's the last thing I have for them to do. But I thought that this was a cool lesson for them. It kind of, I mean, you really truly can do this with any lesson. I just happen to be a history buff and love social studies. I also love English. But English is a little bit more tough for the older grades. You could do the match as, just vocabulary, or you could just do vocabulary in general. Like, you could have legislative branch be one of the words and then have the definition. The only downside of match is that you can only type so much. So once you get down to this bottom line, that's it. That's all you can have. So that's kind of the downfall of match. So you have to be careful with your definitions. I did actually make a match for this, and yeah, I'm not really sure. Yeah, I'm not sure how it works. There we go. So you would just kind of match them, I believe. So this one you would just really click on who you think it is. First after Megan, and then it gets rid of it. So a little bit different. This one, I didn't do as much their powers as I did the significant events that happened while they were in office. So I decided to not show you that one. But really, you can use these for any lesson, just any lesson. I think it can benefit you. And now that I know that Composer's working, I'm hoping that Kubu kind of worked out the kinks. I think it could be beneficial. I definitely like that it's free, but it's only free, again, up to 30 people. But still not a bad gig.